Hello and welcome to episode 23 of our Timberborn 1.0 no longer experimental playthrough with the Iron Teeth on the Ant Farm map. Cycle 24, day 4. Folks, last episode, apparently you guys enjoyed it a whole lot more than I enjoyed recording it. But we managed to survive somehow. I still have no clue how that happened. But we do have 34 adults. We have the ability to rebuild the colony. And we have the ability to make some fundamental changes to how some stuff is done before the population gets larger again, so that we can make sure that it's going to be unlikely that something like that can happen again in the future. So we paused a whole bunch of stuff. We don't have enough beavers to really do much of anything at the moment, so I would like to focus on water pumping. And we do have 2,400 water pumped out of a maximum 4,650 in storage, which I think is, you know, a pretty good start. And most of the rest of these things are automated based on the fill rate and the fill value of all of our different storages. And a lot of these things are paused. The woodwork shop probably needs to be unpaused. But right now I am more concerned about having as much water as physically possible pumped during this period of time. And one of the things I think we really should probably get into is not necessarily moving these water pumps out of here, but putting additional water pumps in other locations, shall we say, downstream of the reservoir. And also blasting a little passageway between here and here so that we can make sure everything can be fed by the reservoir. And then maybe, you know, in due time, increasing the height of the reservoir to be all the way up against the bottom of this, at least one more block. That's going to require a little bit of finagling that I'm not entirely sure how to accomplish just yet. So, since we're still kind of in crisis recovery mode, I'm not going to worry about doing too much until the end of this temperate cycle. And right on cue, start of day 5, we got that drought approaching warning. But I want to get this as filled up as we can, which is why I'm not taking anybody out of these pumps just quite yet. We'll have some time during the drought to kind of reconfigure things and get stuff set up, moved around, build more tanks, build more pumps, move things, so on, so forth. Right now, all that matters is making sure we have enough water to keep beavers alive. The food situation isn't really ideal, but it's been worse, and we've come back from worse. I'm not going to take any beavers out of the pumps to put them in the farms just yet, but what I can do, and just go ahead and pause this because we don't really need to worry about it. I'm going to take them out of the district center because, well, we're not really building anything. And I'm going to get them in the farms because, well, that's very important. And this scavenger flag has nothing left to do, so that can just be straight up removed. And, of course, the mine is going to be where we turn our attention to in the future, except we have less than half of the required amount of treated planks. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But I am feeling pretty good about most of this. Yes, I do know that the eggplant factory is paused. That's on purpose because, again, we only have 32 beavers. But we're going to have a couple more pretty soon. We'll slowly recover back to where we were, but again, I'm just laser focused on getting as much water stored up as possible so that we can avoid whatever kind of nonsense happened last time. So this is probably needs to be automated back to this same timer again. I have a healthy fear of things going poorly for reasons completely within my control after all of this. These should be popping out some beavers here in a minute. No, that actually already did, so we're at 34. That should have gotten us to 35, but I guess somebody died of old age at the same time. I got one more here, and then one more here in another half a day or so. Alright, final day before we have our massive drought come in. Things are looking alright. I just want to make sure they can pull out and replant all of these crops. I guess this probably should be a piece of corn. We've got eggplant here. I do have storage, remember, for all of these crops we're growing in raw form and processed form. So we're in okay shape. I don't think we really need to be too concerned. But we got 3,700 water stored. I don't think we need to be super worried about how the outflow is looking. These are automated with Gary, as everything must be named Gary now according to law. So those will turn off. The ones at the very bottom in this reservoir will not. But I think for right now, since we've gotten almost 4,000 water, I don't think we're going to need to be super worried about pumping much more with 35 beavers at least. Remember, that's about 80 water per day. Right back-to-back 28-day drought cycles. Okay. Well, the other one could have been a bad tide. I don't actually remember. So actually, those paws were looking good. Now we are at 6 extra beavers, which means we have an opportunity to get these guys back in here. We're full on logs, so we don't actually need those at the moment. I did pause the engines because, as I discovered during one of the time lapses last episode, they consume water, and that caused me to become quite angry, which I did not leave in the video. I did cut that part out. But this is supposed to be automated with the help of the eggplant timer. And the algae is also supposed to be automated, but I don't even have any algae yet because I didn't have this thing operating. We all know why we didn't have that thing operating. So I think for now we can just kind of leave this alone. We do need to get Woodwork Shop up and running. Keep an eye on the power supply versus the demand. I won't turn these back on unless I absolutely need to. The number cruncher has been automated to turn on or off based on what our demand currently is. See, bad water, we're not pumping right now, but we're also not really using it, so that's fine. These things have been turned back on. Most of these are looking okay. I don't have any major construction going on right now, so I don't need any more than 1 beaver in there. But I also have, 4 of these guys in the builder's hut, which we don't necessarily need. That is fully... Wow, with 33 beavers, we have 10 haulers. I think we can justify turning the rest of these things back on that maybe we hadn't been that concerned about before. I know we're not really having any extra storage for logs, but we also have an opportunity to kind of redo some stuff down here. I think that would be a wise decision for us to do, because I said a long time ago that I wanted to have stuff planted down here, because now we don't have any more bad water coming through. We do have some outflow, potentially, if we are to connect these two together. But, I don't really know that it's something we should be super concerned about. I would be much more interested in attempting to increase our potential water storage and then doing something else with this area over here. It is nice to have all of these mangroves and everything, but grand scheme of things, we really don't need the fruit. We can cut them down for wood. We also really don't need the wood. We also, I don't think, need to replant these blueberry bushes. I think this space would be much better served as additional water capacity with some more pumps in place. But we don't necessarily have to. It's just we got a lot of these over here. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. One of the major things we have to deal with is what are we doing with the dirt excavator? Because it doesn't have any power. And it doesn't have any power because I moved the steam engine that was powering it so I could put this other stuff in. So if we're going to have this thing actually operating, remember that it does take 200 HP. We do have the option, if we're truly desperate for dirt, which at this exact moment I don't think we are, we could put in a large power wheel and just have a couple of beavers, maybe even just one, run around there so this can operate on some level of efficiency, but I don't think we need it. We have 140 dirt. I don't see that much more terraforming taking place to where that's going to be a huge problem, but we do need to make use of the space that we have. So I think getting these things back up and operating is probably going to be a better use of our time. And yeah, we want to make sure we're picking that stuff out. We don't need the fermenter for the cassava here. I also kind of don't want to leave any of these industrial things in this spot. I think I would rather have it be plantable space or do something else here. We don't need the gear storage down here. We do not need the explosive store. Actually, no, that's a lie. The explosives are being made there, so I can't get rid of that until I get rid of that. Part of the thing I was complaining about earlier in this playthrough is that I didn't really have good places to put anything, and we can, to a certain extent, do something about that by kind of reshuffling everything over here. There's a little bit of scrap metal that is still available, should we choose to, I guess, make interesting choices about routing these stairs around. And I think it is worth getting into those. This staircase slope, I'm sorry, it's not a staircase. But that really doesn't accomplish anything for us right now. Treated planks are going to go into the mine unless I tell them to do something else. This is where we have industrial pile. What I was thinking of doing is taking these out and then dynamiting, tunneling, etc. a bunch of this away so that we could actually have more storage. Now, I can't really get away too much with doing this right here because this is a very important, support pillar for what's above. But I could take this bit out, I could put some sort of something over here, and most importantly, I could get a 3-wide here. That would be very, very convenient to slide in. You can't tunnel underneath the mine before anybody asks. It will just straight up not even let you click it there, but I don't want that there. It'll let you do almost anything else. It's entirely reserved all the way down to the very bottom of the map. And long-term, the industrial capacity afforded by 2 lumber mills, 2 gear workshops, technically 3 and 3, and this one smelter here really isn't great. So I do want to do something about that. Again, we can put some more piles underneath most of this. Can't really do any blasting because, well, it's open to below down there. So let's do this. I know this is going to disrupt power to basically everywhere. Well, we have 1,100 food. We have 33 beavers. We probably need to get another breeding pod or so in. But we'll get there. I just need to make sure I've got enough stuff to build piles and then put everything else on top of here. I have 168 scrap metal. That was one of the concerns, was can we rebuild the smelter? And the answer is yes. So, since this is not necessary anymore, this cassava fermenter, because we have 2 here and then we have 2 here for mushrooms, let's just go for broke. Get rid of all of that. Every single tiny bit. Come up here. I'm not going to lose sleep over getting rid of that one tree. I don't think we need to worry about it. But getting rid of this here, including the power shaft, is going to allow us, like I said, to put in industrial piles. I got one there, and then I can put another set here, and then we could even potentially, depending on how we want to play the game here, put something on top of the bad water discharge and be good to go from there. But before we get too far, remember what I said before about trying to contain contamination. We have the option in this spot right here, not necessarily to blast it down, but we could forgo putting one more of these industrial piles in the very bottom in exchange for putting in irrigation barriers, which will allow this to not pollute quite as much. The unfortunate thing with the irrigation barriers is you cannot build directly on top of them unless it's just the stilts for the platform. So what we would need to do to make this viable, I think, got to be very careful how I'm going to go about this. I'm pretty sure, okay, the shrub is going to have to get deleted, but pretty sure nothing horrible is going to happen. If I get rid of that, and then in its place I put a levee, which will stop the bad water from getting through over here, but it won't stop the contamination from coming in underneath. It's just going to stop all of this mess here. Actually, there is a impermeable floor underneath. This is ground with impermeable floor there. So maybe this here as well, getting replaced would be not a bad thing. What's on top of this? Oh, that's a power transmission. Well, I'm gonna say, you know what? We've already survived what honestly really should have been certain death for this playthrough. And I'm gonna choose not to let, at least for right now, not to let too much else bother me. Because I still can't believe how that worked. So we're going to let them take care of some of this stuff. We'll time-lapse just a tiny bit. And then I'll come back after I figure out whether or not I'm going to be able to actually stop the transmission of the bad water like I think I am. Or if I'm going to have to think of something else. Alright, so they got that taken care of. And we did, in fact, get a substantial amount of land back. This is still contaminated here because I'm unable to put the impermeable floors underneath this thing. But the impermeable floors being underneath all of this and being completely separated on the sides with the levees has allowed us to take advantage of all this extra space. So I am going to be able to, without making this needlessly complicated, put in even more of these things here. And I think based on how this is going to be set up and what else is going to be going on top of here, it would be wise for us to have more capacity for stuff like metal blocks, especially considering what we're trying to do at the very, very end of this, which is, of course, make the Earth repopulator. So, instead of adding additional plank storage, I suppose it would not be a bad idea to put in a little bit more there. And then on top here, put in the treated planks, and then put in metal blocks. Of course, get this all hooked up here. Remember how we have this set up very specifically so that we can use these staircases. And because of how this is done here, we have an opportunity to move the woodwork shop right here, which, considering this is treated planks, I think that makes sense. There's also planks right down next to it. I just need to make sure I can actually build all of this without having any more planks made. Yeah, and how many planks are going to be required to do that? 50. Okay, well, I definitely don't have all that much. Oh, there's plenty on the ground. There's plenty on the ground. Let's grab the stuff off of the ground first. I did have to adjust employment numbers, and I had to manually pause these things that can't run anyway. I think we're looking alright. We're looking okay. Just very interested in making this as not stupid as possible within my means here. So we're not going to get across here anyway. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I do need to get power over here, which we could accomplish in a couple of different ways. I think what's going to make the most sense, and also with kind of an eye to the future here, is to put in a row house right here. We can get a path in from the front, and then to go between these row houses, power transmission wise, we don't need to put anything between those two here because everything is connected around the outside. But if we wanted to be... Okay, I can't zoom in that far. I'm not going to be able to hear myself think. I could put in some platforms and then some shafts on top of those. I don't think that's necessary. This will transmit power up and then back here. And for this to make the most amount of sense, I think what I'm going to want is to put an industrial lumber mill here, because we're going to be using a lot of planks. Yeah, ratios-wise, it's always a challenge for me to figure this out, but gears... maybe I can find another spot for gears, but... probably the planks are going to be something we're going to need more of more quickly, so I'm going to put this here. The reason being, this can transmit... that's not right. That's not what I was going to do. Listen to what you're going to do, and then don't lead these folks astray. Talking to myself. I can put on the very bottom here, depending on what we want to store. A couple of these small piles I think would make a little bit more sense. Don't really have a great spot to put other stuff otherwise. But piles-wise, we do have some storage for scrap metal. We don't really need it to be all the way down there. We also are probably going to want to move that dirt pile and some of these other things. Maybe it doesn't actually matter that much. But I will put in... yeah. For lack of a better option, I'll just do that. Now, warehouses up here, depending on how we want to do that. I do want to move, or maybe, you know, honestly, maybe this doesn't matter at all. Maybe it really doesn't matter at all. I'm just sitting here wasting everybody's time. Hate to think that's the reality there, but I guess I could just make some gear storage because it fills a spot and it's fine. I don't have any benefit to making this a double height because there's not really any way for them to come through here. But I might as well, you know, future-proof it a little bit in case I want to expand that this way. This is not going to connect here. It's going to connect here and go all the way there, which is going to give me the ability to put in a wood workshop and then a smelter. Just one in one. Make it nice and easy. Power, of course, is going to transmit very nicely between both of those things. And we will be good to go. This also does help save us some planks so that we can actually have this operating to make more planks. I know I could turn this one on too, but I'm trying to get rid of it. Let them take care of that. Now we have all these extra beds available. We can come down here, and you know what? This barracks is not in a very good spot. Let's get rid of it. No tears, only dreams. That is vintage meme. Let's just get rid of all those things. And the reason why I would do that is so that I could come around here and blast a bunch of this out to try and increase our pumping capacity in this area. Again, we do not need these blueberry bushes. We're going to be okay. I don't think this playthrough is ever going to get above 100 beavers just because of the size constraints of the map. And we do probably need to push it along for the sake of all the other series and things we are attempting to do here. So that's, you know, that's why I'm doing this way. I do have plenty of extract, so if I were to just get rid of this bit here, you know, that could give us a lot of extra space to store water, which I think is going to be just a little bit more important. But we'll let these guys do what they've got to do. I can actually put that there as well. They should be able to... well, we can start with this. That should all be within... maybe? Maybe it's not within reach. But it's not giving me any... we can't get there crybaby alarms. So maybe it's okay. Anyway, the industrial lumber mill is up and running. So we can make more planks. Which is a good thing because I don't really have a lot right now. I do have the gears and I do have the scrap metal to build the smelter. And then they've just about finished with this. In the spirit of making this actually, you know, decent, watchable content, I am going to turn this one back on. Make sure we're looking good there. Like I said, we don't need this fermenter here. It's probably going to come out. These... well, it's not probably going to come out. I literally just did take it out. These water wheels have no functional purpose anymore except to get power to the building I just removed. So that solves that problem. And see, look at all the non-polluted land that we have down here. We've actually managed to do something smart here. But this is now going to be disconnected from the power because that was already a problem. So we can just get rid of it. Absolutely no issues whatsoever making that happen. Let's put a staircase in here so they can claim all of this stuff. We can reconfigure probably most of this. Don't know if that's necessarily a today thing, since this is so focused on, you know, recovering. But I think the time is probably here for us to put in at least one more advanced breeding pod, because those numbers are not going to catch up super fast. Well-being is honestly a lot better than I thought it was. We just haven't done any of these types of things. So we can and should put a monument in. We do have like a critical nexus of beavers here, but we have enough to probably put in... Now, let's see, it's not going to be able to reach all of them, no matter what. Unless I can go one more over. It's not going to let me do that unless I put that here. That is going to, in that spot, cover all of those beavers. Whoa, and some of these. Well, you know, I don't hate that. This is cheap enough I can afford to build 2 and not be a big deal. The Flame of Unity has a slightly larger range, and that will cover all of that. If I move that to this spot, okay, no, that's not gonna be that big of a deal. All right, this for planks here can go away, and I can actually in this space, if I don't want to grow anything, I could put, since we have the connectivity here, I could put some more medium warehouses, which honestly seems like the smart thing to do. I've got storage for all these different types of food. I don't have a ton. Oh, I have almost none for kohlrabies, but, you know, nobody really cares about those mangrove fruits either. There's no storage for fermented soybeans, but there's also no processing for fermented soybeans. And at this moment, I cannot remember if I've even planted any. Survey says no, so we're not going to worry about it. Fermented mushrooms only have... Oh, that's 1,200. Never mind, the comma's missing. We've got 1,430, we've got 1,200, and then we've got 1,200 for the algae rations. We haven't started doing much with coffee. I think that would be a decent thing to improve well-being, but I haven't grown any yet. I've got storage for basically all of these things we're actually using. Yeah, you know, I've actually done a good enough job with this that I haven't really had to worry about it. Gear storage. We'll just make, because we need a lot of gears. We need 1,500 gears for the Earth Repopulator. We need 400 for the Tribute to Ingenuity. Oh, I forgot the Flame of Unity requires metal parts now. Okay, well. It is what it is. Because guess where that's even going to go in the first place? That's right. It's right here, because I can. And I can also, depending on how I was going to do this, can I fit this on this tile? No, that really needed to be to fit all of these things. Well, I can also move these here. I don't have to keep them there. That's just where they are now. And this goes... You know what? You know what? It's fine. I'm gonna, again, in case I want it later. I probably won't need it, but in case I want it later, we'll do that. Labor monument. I know we can build a labor monument, no problem. Just to make this easier, I'll just go right here. I know that's going to leave... You know, that's 16 beavers that leaves out. But it does get 20 in here. Yeah, it's fine. Labor monument. Flame of Unity. I know we're doing a lot of stuff at the same time. I bet you can't guess why that's happening. You'll find out soon enough when that time lapse starts, but I do think we're in a good enough position here to pretty much clear out, maybe not the, we'll try with the dirt, but pretty much clear out as much of this as we possibly can. Keep in mind they're still working on getting this done. That's where those treated planks should be going, except this has been absolutely minimized. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm going to, for us to get all the rest of the stuff, I'm just going to put this here. I know this is suboptimal. It's fine. You don't need to be that worried about it. This is all in service of us, you know, at some point, hopefully soon, taking better care of all of the rest of the stuff. I need to make that a priority before they use all of those treated planks, because we do need more beavers. We don't need a huge population, but I do need that to be more than it is. So, now friends, it is time-lapse time once again. We're going to let them take care of the stuff they need to take care of. and slowly rebuild the rest of our small but adequate industrial capacity. I think would be fine. We'll let them do that, and we'll come back and talk about the next steps for the playthrough after that's done, and see what all they've got accomplished. Okay, so we've gotten a decent chunk of progress done, but there are some things I do have to manually intervene on, and that is Flame of Unity needs metal parts. That's buried on another level. I didn't want to scroll around and do that. We also still have 17 vacancies because we have way too many things on. I've got nobody in this builder side. I've got nobody in the hauling post. That obviously is not ideal. We need to trim down some of our jobs here. So, if I want both of the woodwork shops to be going right now, which I do, I cannot delete this lumber mill, but I can pause it. That'll help. Coming down here, the centrifuge is still paused. This is not finished yet, but it needs to be. I've got 2 beavers in here. I've got 2 in each farm. I really should be planting some more trees. So I think what will help is if I swap that guy into there. This is paused. Those have been paused. This guy's got nothing left to do because there's nothing planted. Let's give that a swap. We've got all of this ready to explode, so why don't we K for kaboom all of this. And that gives us a lot more space to hold water. I know this is going to, at some point, go away because we have 15 days left. But it's a help. And that'll also do its own good there. Yeah, but in terms of jobs, this hasn't been unpaused. That's not really ideal, but yeah, I think we just need more beavers, honestly. In terms of raw food, we're looking okay. We're not looking great. But I do need to get the metalsmith back on, which means I probably do need to turn at least 1 or 2 other jobs off. I suppose the worthy sacrifice here is pausing this other woodwork shop. Yeah, as much as I hate to do that, but we got too much else going on. I don't want to pause the farmhouses outright. I will take each of them down to a single beaver, because I don't think that's really that big of a deal. Oh, I've got 4 in the district center. I thought I had only 2. Okay, well now I only have 2. In terms of cutting, I can pause that lumberjack flag. That'll get us to 10 vacancies, which does give us 4 haulers. No extra builders. That's okay, but we needed to have the extra haulers there. We also down here have this empty. That's not empty. That is empty. That's going to allow us to start the process of getting this cleaned up. This scrap metal is supposed to be emptying, but it is not emptying. Probably there's not anywhere for that stuff to go, or the haulers, since they weren't working at all, need to just have time to pick it up. Yeah, this is already about halfway there. We asked these guys to do a whole lot of stuff, and it should not be any surprise that they haven't been able to get it done. But that getting finished is going to be nice. Of course, we do still have to find somewhere to put the tribute to Ingenuity, but that has a nice big reach, and I don't think it would be too big of an ask to put it somewhere like over here-ish. The challenge that I am not entirely sure how to complete yet is where to put the Earth repopulator. The map is small enough that basically anywhere in the middle is going to make sure it, touches everything, but I don't really have a great spot in the middle. I could put it here, not immediately. I'd have to do a little bit of terrain modification, but you know what? It would probably be super easy to, let me just check this again. Yeah, because it's a 7x7 with indents in the corners, and I don't think it cares about where you put those. So, I guess I could do this. Just put this right here in the center and then build up on top of it, and I would have to have overhangs. I'm pretty sure. pretty sure. Let's, just so they don't build this yet. And we have 12,000 science. It doesn't matter. I do the 5x5. Ah, see, that's not gonna fit. That's not gonna fit. And it's probably because of this. I guess I shouldn't be irritated about that. That can, I mean, there's nobody working here anyway. That can be moved. That can go basically anywhere. This also doesn't need to be set up in this configuration. This is a honestly suboptimal configuration anyway. But now that I'm going to be putting, assuming I'm going to be putting this here, I just want to, wait, that wasn't the thing that was causing the, it's the trees, you idiot. Well, there's your problem. We have enough trees. I know the famous last words. But we have enough trees. I will not get rid of them yet. But I will not be planting any more trees here. This could become farmland if we're truly desperate. I still don't think it's going to let me place this, and it won't. But going one level above that would bring that up to the same level as this path, which is what I was hoping. So I think that's going to have to be the plan here. I am pretty confident that will work. I'm not confident that I have farmhouse reach, and I don't. I do not. Can I know we're still paused. We're working on it. Can I put this here? No way. Really? Okay, well, you know what that just did is putting... I know we don't need the beavers to work here yet, but putting this here will allow us... do I want to get into soybeans? I think the soybeans require 2-block height, but I think this will also allow them to fit. Do I want to open that can of worms? Well, it's going to be a while before we can build the thing anyway. Why not? It'll give us another type of sustenance for the beavers. And honestly, you know, they could probably really use some extra well-being. This is going to have space. Wow, all the way over here? Really? That's that seems promising in a way that makes me suspicious. We are going to need additional fermenters to make this happen. Forgive me for being slow with this. I'm trying really hard not to have this blow up in my face. Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Let's get this over here. Let's get this going. 4x1. Yeah, that's gonna get me where I want to go. Do I have the metal? I do. It's gonna take him a long time to make this stuff. But doing that is going to allow me to put fermenter here. These actually don't require the canola, so I might actually move the fermented mushrooms. Wait, where am I even storing the mushrooms to begin with? Do I have mushroom storage? I do, it's right here. Okay. Well, since this is closer to the canola oil, I think long term it's going to make sense. Also, the stairs are right here, so it really doesn't matter. But I didn't make storage. Okay, I just need to shut up and do it. I know. So what if instead of... No, I'm making this too complicated. I just need them to do something. So that's what we're gonna do. I don't think the building situation is that dire that I absolutely need to have another builder's hut. But I can put one here, and that can be, you know, minimal distractions, minimal weeping, gnashing of teeth, etc. I am going to put 2 beavers back in here. And I'll tell you what we'll do, folks, is we'll put this on the triple speed. We'll get these guys doing about as much as they can do. And I guess we just have to wait and see. There's still a lot of stuff we want to do before the end of this series, but it is starting to get to be about time to wrap it up. And I think we've demonstrated at this point, especially with the previous episode, that we have functionally conquered the map. But as you know, I do always like to end these with launching the Earth Repopulator or the Earth Recultivator for playing Folktales faction. It just makes sense and it's fun. The automation, as at least one or two of you have mentioned in the comments, really threw a wrench in the works on this series, and I think to some degree negatively affected it, because I obviously had no idea that was going to be a thing until they dropped it. And that did cause a lot of distractions and a lot of issues here. But we're learning, and that's what it's about. So I think we can still come away from this series when we are finished, and this obviously is not the last episode. We've got probably at least 4 or 5 more. But we can come away from this knowing that we learned a whole lot of stuff. We played a pretty challenging map on hard mode, and, you know, to this day, still have not lost a beaver to starvation or thirst or contamination or anything like that. They get old and they die, and that's it. Honestly, I'm pretty proud of that. I maybe shouldn't be, based on how some of this stuff has gone, but I'm glad you stuck with it. So let's come out of this time lapse, see what we've managed to get finished here, and then we'll do our end of episode stuff and move on. Okay, so that's where we're going to go ahead and end our time lapse, because a couple things have happened. One, we have a fermenter, and we have it set to fermented soybeans. We've planted fermented soybeans. I did take out the forester over here because I figured that probably wasn't required anymore. We can take this platform out and put another shower in if we so choose, which I know a couple of you will be very excited to see that. So we'll do that. We can probably move these guys somewhere else, but I don't think it's really that big of an issue right now. The soybeans, in about 3 to 4 days, depending on which ones, will be pulled up and then fermented. They don't have any storage yet, but I think we could probably do something like do I want to have the 4x? I might as well. There's not really a reason not to. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm going to put in power shaft here, and then I'm going to put in a second fermenter for the soybeans. And then, of course, the path can continue this way. This is all pretty easily accessible to most of this. But behind here, if we're sure we don't need any other food processing, which honestly for a small population, one factory for each type of factory-produced food, we're going to have... Oh, we do have algae. That means I can turn the algae on. Well, well, well. That means I can connect it to the algae timer as well. I don't think we're going to need any more in terms of... what's it called? Food production. There you go. But other things that do require power that might be nice for us to have include a wind tunnel, motivatorium, which has to go on ground. I don't know that we're going to really find, and mud baths. So we don't necessarily want to stop power transmission past this point. But I do think it's worth doing one thing here, and that's going to be behind all of this. I think. See, these are 5x5. Okay. I almost made a mistake here. Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. And I know this is going to be like supremely dumb use of metal resources. However, I believe that it would be a mistake not to try and do as much as we can. I can pop this guy in right here. It'll have power, and it'll continue to put power out to the side. So I'm going to do that before we build this. Instead of this being a 4x1, we're going to turn that into a 5x1. And by 5x1, I mean 6x1. Math is hard, folks, alright? But yeah, that's going to allow us to get past this thing. And then this is going to be... it's not going to be perfectly easy to do all this, but it's going to be easy enough for us to get in over here and Get that connected around the backside. If we need to expand power, it's super easy to take the path out and then just get this connected to something else. But for right now, this will be fine. Yes, this consumes a lot of power. It's 400 HP. But it's a cool thing. And we can always, you know, we can make more power. I figured that would be a nice thing to try to squeeze in on a map like this. So we'll see what happens. We've got options. And I do want to, you know, have as much fun with this as we can before we are finished. So they're going to continue working on that. Obviously, it will take time. But we're in a really good spot. We've got 1,200 water. We have 4.5 days left. We're still lagging behind on population a little bit, even with 5 of these breeding pods, but I don't think we want any more than 5. I think getting the well-being up is going to be our best bet to help that situation. Soybeans will give us a little bit. Algae will give us a little bit. Coffee, we don't have a brewery yet. We also haven't planted any beans. Campfire, rooftop terrace. We've got 2 of the rooftop terraces. We have somewhere campfire. Don't remember where it is. We probably want more than one of those, or at least to have one in a more accessible area. But for now, I think this is about as good as we're going to get this episode. I know we are very, very slowly getting most of the rest of this stuff taken care of. I'm just going to knock that down right now because I don't want to be worried about it. We are getting all of these ruins. We have the mine completed. We don't need it yet, but we do have it completed. I have it paused because we don't have a ton of beavers. But friends, I think we are in a very, very good spot. I think we can probably safely remove all of this stuff, and maybe next episode envision some sort of additional farming improvement or something down here. We have ways of improving this and making it the best possible end for the beavers as we start to approach the conclusion, quote-unquote, of this series. I do just want to check real quick. Good. I was going to be a little upset if that didn't work. But we're going to put this 5x5 in here, and then we're going to have to put the 2x1 overhangs around the outside, so on and so forth. But this is where we must end this episode. I'm out of time, and I'm sure this episode has already gotten quite long for you guys. So I do appreciate you guys watching these videos. Again, I can't believe so many of you really loved last episode, and I went away from it thinking it was the worst thing I'd ever made. And people would be like, yeah, you suck at this. Stop making videos or whatever. That's the life of, I guess, being a naturally paranoid and not very confident person. But I appreciate you guys being here anyway. And, of course, I appreciate the beard boosters who subsidize all of these videos, so we don't have to have sponsors, we don't have to cut them down for time, we don't have to try to cater to the algorithm. We can just enjoy playing the game and presenting the authentic experience, whatever it is. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's weird, or whatever happens, that's what you get to see. And I'm so glad you guys like the videos like that, because I don't want to do them any other way. But that's all the time I got for this one. Whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again soon with the beavers. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.